You're listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast, a podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, read articles on renegadeblitz.com, and like us on Facebook. And welcome back to the Renegade Blitz podcast. I'm Polk, joined by Chris Ward and Guthrie Rasmussen. It's time to review Steelers versus Cowboys. And guys, for the first time ever in franchise history, the Steelers are 8-0. It's another Victory Monday. That's all we've known since we started this podcast, but we're going to get a little real on this one, aren't we?
Yeah, it was a winning effort, and we're glad that the Steelers won, obviously, and they're 8-0. But man, there's a lot to nitpick with this game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time talking about special teams in the show.
Let's just get started with a common theme in the past couple podcasts has been focusing on a half, whether good or bad. And for the first half with the Steelers, it was another porous start for them. It seemed that play calling was out of whack again for the Steelers. The running attack wasn't on point, never got on point, and Ben's early deep shots were either not on target or off the receiver's hands. Then when it seemed like Ben was catching fire, he would hit 4 straight passes. They would follow it up with 5 straight runs that killed their offensive drives. Coupled with the defense being surprised by Dallas's rushing attack and the play of former AAF standout Garrett Gilbert, the Steelers were looking up at a 13-0 deficit, including Dallas's first offensive touchdown in 3 games. Teams typically like to script the first 15 or so plays of the game. It goes back to the San Francisco 49ers and their West Coast offense. And it's clear whatever happened to get off to that great start against Tennessee and other teams is not working right now. When the team firmly went under Ben Roethlisberger's play calling direction, the Steelers thrived. What are your thoughts on the woes that the Steelers have had to begin games? Is this just unfortunate action from the field of play, or is this unfortunate play calling?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Ben definitely missed some guys there, but you can't help but look at the play calling for some of these plays. It looks like it's like you're running when you shouldn't be running, you're passing when you shouldn't be passing. But then again, it's hard, because if it was successful, we wouldn't be saying anything, but, going 9 for 22 against the league's worth, rushing attack is unacceptable.
I think it's a little bit of a mixture of both, Fichtner and also just, execution wise, the offensive line probably had their worst game of the year. They just, Ben didn't get sacked at all, but, he got hit a couple of times, obviously got injured with that knee injury, but they just couldn't run the ball. And especially in short yardage situations, it was just, at that one point in the first half, they ran like 3 straight times. It was like 2nd and 2 or something like that. I think it was 2nd and 3. And then McFarland picked up 2 yards and it was 3rd and 1. And then McFarland got stuffed. And then Benny Snell Jr. got stuffed on the next play. So, on 4th and 1, and they turned the ball over on downs. You would like to see them get off to a faster start, especially these last 2 weeks. They didn't get going to the second half when Benny spurted it out and, got the ball to his playmakers and, kind of ran that no huddle and everything. So I just wish they were more consistent and maybe, Fichtner's opening play calls or like his script, because they script like the first 10 or so plays. Maybe he could do a better job in that area.
We'll get to the Steelers rushing attack, but we got to talk about this with the Steelers run defense. A historic strength has been a bit of a problem in the last couple games. While they didn't give up a 100-yard rusher like they did last week with J.K. Dobbins, the combined effort of Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott went for 108 yards on 27 carries. It didn't feel like they had a handle on these guys. The longest rush was 20 yards by Ezekiel Elliott, but it felt like the Derrick Henry situation against Tennessee, where it's just like, these feel like bigger gashes than something that's just 20 yards. It leads to the question that you really have to ask right now. Did the Ravens expose something in the Steelers' run defense? Or are the absences of Tyson Lulu and Mike Hilton allowing these performances?
I mean, you could really look at this from many different lenses. You could just say, hey, we played against two great groups of running backs, which I definitely think that's the case. But definitely I think this was unacceptable defensively. I mean, they held Ezekiel Elliott to like 2.9 yards per carry, if I'm not mistaken. But, Tony Pollard definitely, they both were definitely a good duo for this game, as well as Zeke also having some receiving attempts. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they did, but I'm just hoping that what we're seeing some really good duos that we played in back-to-back weeks. So hopefully that's just what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think Alalu not being there at nose tackle has been a big loss. Mike Hilton too. He's a great run defender off the edge. I think hopefully this is just like a 2-week occurrence here. Hopefully the Ravens didn't put the blueprint out there on how to rush on the Steelers defense. But I looked up this right before the game. I saw the Cowboys only had one rush of 20 yards or more, prior to the game against the Steelers, and they had two against Pittsburgh. So I'm not too sure really what's going on right now. I think, like I mentioned, Lou, I think they're really missing him as a run defender, and hopefully they look at it on film and correct it moving forward.
And you have to remember, we did mention this in the preview podcast that Zeke was right there with James Conner in terms of rushes of 10 yards or more. They're both in the same category, so you have to wonder, will the Steelers look at something to see if they can replicate some things out of that rushing attack? Because, as you mentioned earlier, that was possibly the worst rushing performance I've ever seen the Steelers have. And I'm going back to Jonathan Dwyer, Fitzgerald Toussaint, Isaac Redman, and Baron Batch running the ball for the Steelers. It just feels like there's just nothing there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you're perfectly fair to point that out. I mean, I think our highest rusher, highest rushing attempt was Big Ben for that 8-yard scramble, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just crazy, that makes him look like a Lamar Jackson compared to everybody else. But yeah, I don't know exactly what happened, whether they just sold out for the run and they did it very well, or what exactly happened, because I definitely think this was definitely, like you said, one of the worst we've seen in a long time.
Definitely a long time. And just, those short yardage situations are just really frustrating because, all you need is 1 yard and you expect your offensive line to get, movement up front, especially when the game was on the line there at the end when Connor got tackled for a 4-yard loss on a counter run. And, the Steelers could have closed the game out there and, clinched the win. Instead, the Cowboys, drove down the field and had to rely on a Micah Fitzpatrick pass breakup in the end zone to win the game. So I don't know if it was Connor. Did you guys see Connor on the sidelines a couple times? He looked like he might have not been I don't know if he looked like he was frustrated because of the performance. He wasn't getting. I don't think there was many opportunities for him to run. I think the Cowboys just dominated up front against the Steelers.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't really see him in his what his expressions were like, but I think he was definitely frustrated. But yeah, they were all over Ben as well. We'll probably get into that more with the potential injury kind of that happened to him. But they were all over Ben as well. We didn't allow a sack, which is good, but they definitely were got a lot of QB hits on them.
You gotta wonder how that happened. But going back to the rushing attack, if this was a game that Chris, you and me both thought that this could be the game that James Conner shows something. This is the 32nd ranked rush defense. I know that you hear that stat and go, okay, they should run, but also the Cowboys are historically stout on defense. So now the question is this, again, even with the Cowboys' history, that's still 32nd in the league. If not them, who? Who are they going to have a good performance against? Because this just can't keep on continuing. Who's the next team that they can actually make a run at it? Or are we waiting for Derek Watt to come back?
Yeah, especially the last two games, they struggled rushing the ball. Connor, like he did okay against the Titans. They definitely need to get that run game going. They've had some success this year, when they control the clock and stuff. But like you're right, Ty. Like they continue on the path that they're on right now. I don't think they can rely every single week on Ben just going to that spread formation and just get to playmakers. I think eventually defense will figure that out and game plan for them. Okay, they start off slow, so watch for when they go to this no huddle type of offense and what do we need to do to combat this. So yeah, you just like to see them more balanced and more consistent. And I was way off on my prediction. I think I had James Conner rushing for like 130 yards rushing or whatever. It was, I thought they would have a big game against Dallas because, previous to this, Cowboys were giving up a lot of big plays in the run game.
Last thing is just, I kind of wish we would have saw more of our other backs, when they had the opportunity. Obviously, we saw Benny Snell in there, and he got stuffed twice. It's just we're not seeing anything out of really anybody, against this league's worst defense, and that's kind of a shame. We saw a little bit more out of Anthony McFarland, but still, we haven't seen that big play we've been, wanting.
It's the question of like who are they gonna turn to begin the game? Is it Connor? Is it Snell? Could it be McFarland? Jalen Samuels is still there. They got Trey Edmonds off the practice squad. Wendell Smallwood is still there. They need to find someone that's just gonna get the ball going north. It's like you can go northeast, you can go northwest, but it's got to be north.
We just need somebody that can average over, get over 4 yards a carry, just make those second down and manageables. And so far we haven't been having that. We're throwing on first down and getting to second down, and then we rush on second down, we get stuffed, and we need to get out of those third and longs for sure.
If you're gonna run, pass, that's like early 2000s football. Your running backs have to do something. 3.5 yards a carry. If you're gonna do those two runs, it's 3rd and 4 if you can do that. But the Steelers can barely get 2. Something's got to give here. Another thing if there's one good thing that we could talk about for the Steelers in this win, and we can really be undisputed with it, was the pass defense. Garrett Gilbert, all things considered, had a good game. He was 21 for 38 for 243 yards and 1 touchdown. But the pass defense, specifically the secondary, were the creator of 2 big turnovers that changed the tide of the game for the Steelers. You can see where I'm going with that. Minkah Fitzpatrick recovered a fumble that led to a 59-yard field goal at the end of the half, and he had an interception on 3rd and goal from the Dallas 8-yard line, which allowed the Steelers to kick another field goal to get within 1, with the score being 18-19. It's a passing league, so this should be expected, and sometimes quarterbacks are just going to have a game. But a quarterback in his first NFL start, regardless of how well he played in the AAF, the XFL, the CFL, any league, he shouldn't have had these moments where we're going like, oh man, he's going to go out here and win this. What would you rate the performance of the pass defense in this game?
I'll say they was an okay performance. It wasn't terrible, or neither was it great. I thought they gave up some plays that they would have liked to have back. The Cowboys have a good receiving core, and Gilbert did pretty good for his first career start. But I think Fitzpatrick having that interception in the red zone was huge, and really turned the game around. The Steelers were +2 in a turnover differential, and I think that was really the difference in the game. I thought the secondary, Cam Sutton made a forced fumble on CD Lamb, and Minkah Fitzpatrick recovered that, and then the Steelers ended up getting a field goal. So off of the 2 turnovers, the secondary made the plays, and the Steelers went on to score 2 field goals off of that, so in total 6 points. So I think it was an okay performance by the secondary. It was a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, I completely agree. Not much to say on my end. You pretty much covered it. This mixed bag. I say this every week, but I just want to see more of a jump as we continue down the stretch. I don't think this is their ceiling yet. I think they'll continue hopefully to get better. They had a very talented wide receiver room, and credit to Garrett Gilbert being able to he definitely got to his receivers. I think Mike McCarthy made the right call picking this quarterback because he's got an arm for sure. But man. I'm just glad we got those interceptions and that turnover, that fumble when we got it, because this game could have very well been different if we didn't get that.
I'm not going to slander Garrett Gilbert fully because thanks to Chris, he reminded us that he was in the AAF with the Orlando Apollos, and he was the passing leader there. And the Apollos were recognized. The season for the AAF basically suspended operations halfway through. He was recognized as the league champion, the Apollos. So Gilbert does have a pedigree. You cannot deny that, but you remember the Steelers defense, and credit to them, there's still the defense that can create turnovers out there. And that's the most important thing because, again, they've really saved the Steelers' bacon the last couple of weeks with just opportune plays.
They just need to get better and better as we continue to go on. It was just too close, for Garrett Gilbert. The guy who was in the AAF, I think, like you said, he's got that pedigree. But they were. When they brought up the stat that the last win by a rookie quarterback, or sorry, not a rookie, but it's their first start. It was Brett Favre. I was getting nervous because I'm like, oh no, like once you bring that up, this could, this guy could put his name up with Brett Favre, winning his first career start against the Steelers. It made me quite nervous, but I'm glad that, we got the win.
Yeah, it was too close for comfort. I thought Gilbert might have pulled one there, and man, it just like had the game of his life. Or he did well, but he did make some mistakes. Like I mentioned that crucial red zone turnover he had, but I'm glad the Steelers came through because that would have been a good headline. Or you still even though that they won, people in the media are questioning like, are the Steelers for real, or how did they almost lose to the Cowboys? And I'm just glad that they won because if they lost, like that would have been just all over the media.
If there's anything that I've learned from this game, I will not question Mike McCarthy when it comes to quarterbacks. This is a guy that had to manage Aaron Rodgers out in Green Bay, and while it didn't end well for him with Green Bay, it didn't end much better for us in the Super Bowl in that same city, in that same stadium. So I'm no longer going to doubt Mike McCarthy when it comes to quarterbacks. He made the right move with Ben DiNucci, and he had a history with the guy. So I bet it was a tough decision, but it was ultimately the best decision for the team. And moving on to the pass rush, it didn't get to the quarterback in terms of sacks, only 2 on the game, but they were very huge sacks. One that allowed the Steelers to take over on downs with 1:35 left in the game, and overall they had 9 quarterback hits on the day. So the pressure was pretty much there all game. What did you guys think about the pass rush, and do you think the Steelers should send the league tape of TJ Watt and Bud Dupree being held on the pass rush? And why is the answer absolutely?
Man, they get held quite a lot, and you see TJ Watt just stick his arm in the air like, what are they really just going to let him do this to me? They definitely should because they were getting held a lot. But overall, the performance on the day, the 9 QB hits, like you mentioned, they kept the pressure on them. And they really turned it on when it mattered most to force those turnovers and sack them for a good yard loss toward the end of the game.
Yeah, TJ Watt and Cam Hayward were really good. Up front and getting pressure. I saw a stat from Next Gen Stats where they said that TJ Watt had a career high 10 pressures in the game, and 9 of them came in the second half. So it just shows how dominant TJ Watt was in that game, going up against an undrafted rookie free agent Terrence Steele, who he got penalized for that one play for he was off. He's too far off the line of scrimmage. I think it was. He was too far backed up. Now he was probably trying to do that because TJ Watt is so quick off the edge, and he wanted to get a little bit of an advantage and be ready for him. I think we've been saying all year, this front seven and pass rush is just so good, and they just create havoc for teams that struggle pass blocking, and the Cowboys are one of those teams who have had a lot of injuries on their offensive line.
If there's three assurances in life, it's death, taxes, and the Steelers' pass rush. But now it's time to get to the big story of the day, and that was the adventure that was special teams for the Steelers. Punting-wise, you really can't say much about Jordan Berry's efforts on Sunday. He did a good job of forcing their players to backpedal to receive punts. Really, that backpedal for receiving punts actually opened up perhaps a play that would have resulted in a Steelers loss. I mean, if you're going Music City Miracle on a punt return, you just can't come back from that. There's just no way you can do that. It was a 73-yard punt return off a lateral that I just can't speak enough for. Wow. And the Cowboys also had a kick return of 64 yards that could have went all the way back. And of course, just whatever happened in the field goal unit on Sunday, a missed extra point on the first touchdown, and that's supposed to happen occasionally with the backed up extra point scrimmage line, for lack of a better term. But it was still a good day, I guess. I mean, Boswell hit a 59-yard field goal, a franchise record, to keep the Steelers in the game going into halftime. But I said this on Twitter, and I really believe that it affected so much in this game for the Steelers. The Cowboys were timing the snap. And again, it wasn't in some, whenever you manage to time it well on Madden and it's just like running off the line. No, guys were jumping over the snapper to try and block field goals, and they almost got that 59-yard field goal. When you think back of that turnover on downs that gave Dallas one more chance, I believe Tomlin said in his press conference that field goal unit's inability to block made him go for it on that fourth down, that if the Cowboys convert on, everyone in Pittsburgh is saying that's a horrible decision. But I would have said, even if it would have went wrong, that was the right decision with that defense. Guys, I want to get your take on this. Was that the right move? And what do you think the Cowboys were just doing to Speckledorf, the Steelers' field goal unit?
I have no idea, but I definitely think it was the right move to go for it there, because you should be able to get that with our offensive line and our running backs. I don't agree with the play call. I think it was a counter. I think you should have just dived it, and if it was close enough, Ben was healthy. I bet he would have snuck it in there. But I just think there's some better play calls to do, just like a short pass, because the running game wasn't there all day. But as to what they were doing to time out the snaps, I don't know. I just think it's John Fossil. I think I said his name right. Just, working some magic. They definitely looked at something on film and they exploited it. He's definitely one of the best special teams coordinators in the league, and he definitely showed it this game.
Yeah. Initially, I kind of questioned it because, the Cowboys drove down the field and, they had a shot at the end zone on the final play of the game. And Pittsburgh would have, all the Steelers nation would have been, besides themselves. The Cowboys came back and won that game to lose that way with not being able to convert on 4th and 1. And I agree with Guthrie. I thought that was a bad call with doing the counter, because that on a 4th and 1, because that play kind of takes time to develop, and DeCastro was pulling, and the Cowboys just got great penetration, and they tackled Connor for a loss of 4 yards. But after I heard Tomlin's explanation and I rewatched the game late last night, I saw that Crawford for the Cowboys was just jumping over where the long snapper was, candidate, and was on 2 feet, as Tomlin said, and was in position to block field goals, or he did block the one extra point. So I mean, and as you mentioned, Tyler, that 59-yard kick, they almost got that one. So I think the worst case scenario there for Tomlin would have been if the Cowboys blocked Boswell's kick and returned it for the touchdown to take the lead. But that was probably a slim chance of happening. And really what would have happened was, if they were to block the kick up, the Steelers probably just tackled them right there. So they would have been right in the same position as they were when Connor was stopped on that fourth down play. But, they just got to convert there. You only need 1 yard. The offensive line needs to create pennant up. They need to dominate the line of scrimmage and, create a hole for Connor on that play.
And just to finish up talking about that abysmal rushing performance, a combined 18 rushes for 46 yards. Again, unacceptable.
But, Ty, with that block, if they were to put the field goal unit on and, Boswell made it, like, you would have been up 8 points, and the Cowboys would have had to drive down the entire field and score a touchdown plus, the 2-point for conversion.
What could have happened if it would have got blocked? It either would have been, again, it would have went backwards, or it would have been like the one that they actually blocked where it went forwards, and you could just hope for a Leon Lett situation if you're going to have to play the Cowboys.
I think that's what Tomlin worried about was the Cowboys blocking the kick and then returning it for a touchdown to take the lead.
Again, as you said there, it's like, even Tomlin bias aside, I just looked at it like, they're timing this too well. You cannot kick that field goal without having, I don't know if you can maneuver field goal formation, but something had to be done there, because that was honestly just ridiculous. It wasn't one time. That was 3 times they did that. That was insane.
Yeah, I saw a couple hot headlines after the game where they said that on that decision to go for it on 4th and 1, it was Tomlin was living in his fears to kind of go off of Tomlinism there and use it, I guess, against him, saying that he was living in his fears about the Cowboys field goal unit that was just getting pressure up the middle, specifically Crawford in that game.
Again, if it was coming off the edge, I would have said kick it, because that's not a guarantee that they get to it in time. When you're going straight up the gut, that's something that's fundamentally wrong in whatever way you set up field goal kicks. And that would have been just either A, really dumb, or for lesser coaches, career suicide. So there's living in your fears, and then there's common sense. And frankly, for me, that was common sense.
Yeah. It wasn't a banner day for Danny Smith, Steelers special teams coordinator.
I hope he fixes that, because that's just yikes. But it's time to get to something positive to end this podcast for us. And guys, I said it in my article with Ben Roethlisberger earlier today. I don't know if a complete game can be played by a Steelers offense in the circumstances around it, and that's play calling and, just how the running backs are feast or famine, to be fair. It was pretty close with Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, it wasn't a pretty start to the game, and also that knee injury took him out of the scoring drive to end the first half, but still, it was a great performance. He was only sacked twice and hit 2 times after throwing. And he finally got that elusive roughing the passer penalty. This was his 3rd 3-touchdown, no interception performance of the season, and his highest passing yard total of the season, 306 yards on 29 of 42 passing. The victory gave him his 34th career 4th quarter comeback, surpassing Dan Marino and tying him with Johnny Unitas, and he's now 5th in game-winning drives with 45, trailing only Marino, Brady, Breeze, and Peyton Manning. I could talk endless about his accomplishments so far this season, but I'll end it with this. He has 18 touchdowns on 8 games played this season and 8 wins, and the combination of Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, they registered 8 wins, but they had 18 touchdowns over their entire time playing. It really proves how consistent quarterback play can be the end-all, be-all for an NFL team.
Yeah, Ben obviously coming back has really, changed things, and the offense is performing at a higher level. This was the first game that they didn't score 26 points or more, and the best thing I think Ben's doing so far this year is just his interception touchdown interception ratio where, he's only thrown 4 interceptions to 18 touchdown passes. So, I mean, that's a great ratio. And, 3 of them came in one game, and that was against Tennessee. So, just being really smart with the ball and getting it around. He's spreading it around to the receivers who are just loaded across the board. They have so much depth. It could be Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, or it could be James Washington, or and then you have Ray McLeod and Eric Ebron who have been making plays. So they just got talent across the board.
Yeah, for sure. And just having him back just puts us basically on top of the AFC to almost the bottom of the AFC. Well, we were on the bottom for sure, but it just kind of just having him, it puts us in the conversation is what I'm trying to get at. This kind of flips the script from last year. So definitely happy to have him back. Hope his knees stay healthy. He can take both of mine. Yeah. So just he's playing lights out. You could probably argue this is one of his better years in his career so far. Don't want to jinx it, but it's looking pretty good.
Yes, Steelers Nation's knee donations are still going on. We appreciate that. And with the focus on the passing game, it was a great day for the Steelers receivers. James Washington had 1 catch, but he made it count with a touchdown to get the Steelers on the board. Juju Smith-Schuster had his best game of the season, 6 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Eric Ebron, with that great hurdle over a defender, scored the game-winning touchdown, 3 receptions, 22 yards. And Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson were the 2 most targeted receivers. Claypool with 8 receptions for a nice 69 yards, and Deontay Johnson 6 receptions for 77 yards. Guys, talk about the receiving game.
They all, it's like what me and Chris talk about, every time we do a show with you and whatever else we do. We have a really deep receiving room, and everybody's getting, it's like Oprah. Everybody's getting a touchdown. Everybody's getting over 50 yards. Just everybody's getting the ball. Like we saw James Washington, get a touchdown today on 1 catch. He's been kind of quiet the last few weeks, but Ben just makes sure that he knows he hasn't forgot about him yet. He was open. He caught that touchdown. I mean, I'm just very proud of this receiving room. They're all so unselfish, and hoping they keep it rolling.
Yeah, I agree with Guthrie. Pretty much the same thing to say. Is just every week receivers step up, and you don't know who's going to be every week, and you could double team one receiver, and that's going to open up another guy. So I really like what they're doing right now. A young receiver group too. Juju's he's like only 23 still. He's gonna be 24, I think, in November. I mean, it's just he's like the veteran of the group, and there's some players in that receiver group that are actually older than him. But it's just really impressive to see.
The youth movement in the Steelers wide receiver room strikes again. All right, guys, we're towards the end of our podcast, and I want to get your final thoughts. First, who was your player for the game?
I'll just start with kind of an unobvious. I mean, it's pretty obvious in my opinion, but there's definitely some other guys out there. I'm going to go Minkah Fitzpatrick because of his interception and his timely scoop toward the end of the game there, and I think he definitely put us over the top.
Yeah, I agree. Defensive-wise, with Minkah Fitzpatrick, having that crucial red zone interception. And I'll probably overall go with Ben. I think he just played a really good game, and the 3 touchdowns and his second half performance led the Steelers to a comeback win.
What's the one thing the Steelers did well in this game that they must continue doing well?
Keep winning. Basically, win at all costs. I know that's cheesy, but they got to keep finding ways to win when it looks bleak. I know it's really cheesy, but I like to hear what you have to say, Chris.
I agree. I think they just got to keep on fighting and get those wins, even though they may be ugly and stuff. But I'll say they just got to keep on. I want to see them. Well, this is let me start over. I think I like to see them continue their success in that no huddle look where they spread the ball out. It's like a 4 wide look or 4 wide receivers, or you have tight end, or it might be completely all receivers too with 5 wideouts. But just getting that Roethlisberger getting the ball to his playmakers. 2 weeks so far, the Ravens and Cowboys, when they pulled that out, doing that more in the second half, they struggled to defend Roethlisberger, and he's just getting the ball out really quick. And I think that attack has been, really beneficial to them. And I'm not sure, like, do you guys think do you think Fichtner is like the issue in the first half, where like his scripted plays are, not is that why they're not being successful, or what do you guys think on that? Do you think Ben needs to do more no huddle to start the game?
I think they just need to be more free flowing, more willing to realize, okay, this is not working. Let's abandon that and let's get our confidence back. And just, they could still have a script if things go wrong, but they need to be more willing to abandon that and get back to their bread and butter plays so they can get on track offensively.
Yeah, I completely agree there.
What's the one thing you believe they must improve on for their next matchup and beyond?
I think they just definitely, I'm going to go quick here, just improve the rushing game.
Yeah, I'll go on the other side of the ball. I think they need to improve the run defense. I'm not too sure what's been going on the last 2 weeks. It might be because Oluwalu's been injured for the most part. He got injured early in the game against the Ravens, but then Mike Hill missed the last 2 games. So hopefully getting those guys back will help improve the rush defense.
Well, this weekend, the Steelers return to the AFC North kitchen as they go against the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll have our preview podcast later this week. For now, that's all for us. For Chris Ward and Guthrie Rasmussen, I'm Ty Polk. Thank you for tuning in to the Renegade Blitz. Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, read articles on renegadeblitz.com, and like us on Facebook. Our podcasts are available on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify.